Thing. Tony Messenger, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist, every Tuesday and Thursday with us. STLtoday.com. Good morning, Tony.
Kelly, how is everybody doing?
We're doing good. First, let's dispense with the $100,000 story from yesterday that Al Watkins received anonymously. I don't really think that's that big of a story since, well, Eric Greitens receives all sorts of campaign funds, and we have no idea where they come from.
Well, I mean, it matters in the same way that the fact that we don't know where Eric Greitens, Governor Greitens, gets his money matters. The $100,000 payment to Watkins is something that I know a variety of reporters have been chasing for a while, and it would be interesting to know where he's getting his money, but it has to be pointed out, as you did, that nobody knows where Governor Greitens is getting his money. Not only much of his campaign money, but he now also has at least one, maybe two legal funds set up in such a way that the donors will be hidden from view. And so the idea that we have to know one side, you know, how they're getting their money and not the other side. The fact is we don't know how either side in this morality play is getting their money. The other thing about that $100,000 that is interesting to me is that Al Watkins is not the prosecutor here. He's not really, you know, we refer to him in that sentence as the other side. He's not the other side. He's somebody who represents the victim in this case. He's somebody, or actually he doesn't represent the victim. He represents the victim's ex-husband. Tried to represent one of the investigators, but was denied by the judge to do that. He is a player in this case, but the debate over that $100,000 has nothing to do with the governor's guilt or innocence.
Right. All right, let's get to the trial and what happened yesterday. Pretty extraordinary news. What are your thoughts? It sounds like, from reading the story in your newspaper, that the prosecution is in total disarray.
Well, they clearly had an investigator early on, William Don Lisby, who has some ethical concerns, and who will give the defense an opportunity to question, when they get before the jury, the veracity of the investigation, depending on how much Tisby was actually involved in building the case and or presenting the case to the grand jury. Remember, Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner has said that his involvement early on was limited, but it's clear that his involvement at least taints an element of the investigation into that first felony, the failure to consent to take the photo felony, not the
second
continued
one.
felony.
Yeah.
So it at least raises some questions about the investigation. But I also look at it in the same way that I look at the $100,000. You have a defense that is throwing everything up against the wall and hoping that something sticks. They're not going to get these charges dismissed. They will have some evidence to present before a jury that raises some questions about the prosecution's methods. But are they presenting any arguments that maintain the governor's innocence? That's what I keep looking for, and I haven't seen that yet.
Right. You're absolutely right. That's a $64,000 question. There's a whole lot of interesting, salacious, questionable activities, basic incompetence, questions about the prosecutor and the circuit attorney. But when all's said and done, do they have evidence of a picture being taken, and do they have evidence of him transporting it digitally somewhere?
And I think that's what we're going to find out before the jury.
Yeah.
The judge has already ruled that this case is not going to be dismissed based on those arguments.
Yeah.
And so we are now headed towards a May 14th trial on that charge.
Yeah. But you have to ask, or you have to, I asked this question earlier in the day, I'll ask you, and that is, you have a circuit attorney who is indicting a sitting governor. The world is watching. If you're going to indict a sitting governor, you better have the goods. The world is watching. But this level of incompetence where you go out and you hire this investigator where you can't get a hold of him during the weekend, he doesn't show up for a deposition, and then when asked who's your lead prosecutor, oh, it isn't, or investigator, it isn't him, it's this other guy. I mean, there's a level of, incompetence that is being reported, and I'm just wondering how accurate that is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. In part because the prosecutor is unlike the defense, playing things a whole lot more closely to the vest.
Yeah.
But when you look at the motions that are filed, the actual motions, the argument over evidence, everything else, that to me is the more significant element of what's going on. It's clear the judge has a problem with some of the prosecutor's actions, has basically threatened the prosecutor with sanctions, has suggested that one of the investigators, Elizabeth, was lying. So there are clearly some prosecution mistakes piling up, and those things tend to make it much harder to get a conviction or make a conviction much more likely to be appealed.
Yeah. What do you make of this situation going and the next one coming down the pike? Do you think she will ask Josh Hawley to get involved as a special prosecutor or sort of take over the case for her? And or should she?
I don't know that she'll ask for Hawley to take the case over. I do think that there is probably a role for the Attorney General to play on the Mission Continues case. I still suspect that we may be seeing more charges related to Mission Continues. When I asked the spokesperson for Kim Gardner if the investigation was ongoing, she said yes. And that was the same answer that we got after the invasion of privacy charge, and it did lead to another charge. So I just don't know that we're done seeing charges yet. And I think the Attorney General is clearly putting himself in a position to be more aggressively involved as compared to early on when he looked like he was trying to take his hands off.
Right. Take it out of the events of the day, the 50,000-foot view, Tony Messenger. If Greitens survives this, if he survives the case, survives the other one, maybe at least into the summer, into the fall, how much of that is going to hurt Josh Hawley, who has this governor who was wounded, maybe mortally, maybe not, but Hawley's got to go up against Claire McCaskill. So where does all this stink? Does it land on Hawley this summer and help Claire McCaskill?
Well, first of all, let's define survives. The governor's done. I mean, he's not going to survive. He may beat a criminal charge. He may beat a couple of criminal charges. He's probably not going to resign. He is very likely to be impeached. His political career is over. So survive is a relative term. But is this going to last through the summer? Yes, probably, because the governor's not going to resign. There's only one criminal case scheduled for right now for the summer. That's in May. The other one's going to be some point after that, and that's if the first one even happens in May.
Right.
Impeachment is likely sometimes after that. So, yes, this is going to dog Josh Hawley for a very long time. And the record is already there that he was hands-off early and then got strong a little bit later on. And so that is going to dog Josh Hawley and other Republicans running for office in Missouri. It's going to continue to pull them down as long as the governor drags this out. That's one reason why so many Republicans have called for his resignation and increased their calls for his resignation, because they think he's going to destroy whatever Republican chances exist in 2018 to be successful.
Tony Messenger, never a dull moment around here. Thanks for checking in. Have a good week.